Well, hello there, motherfuckers, and welcome to your SmackDown review. So, Extreme Rules came and went. It's already been forgotten about, much like the episode of Raw on Monday. No one cares. Another show, a guy risks his life falling off the top of a steel cage, and we've forgotten about it already. It's already a distant memory. It's in the past, right? So we have SmackDown here, and just a quick glance at the matches here. We don't really have much here to talk about. We start off with Jeff Hardy cutting a promo, which is something new. We haven't really seen many promos from Jeff Hardy since he's come back at the beginning of last year. He does this promo and he talks about Nakamurphy. He talks about how he has no ethics and he wants to get the U.S. title back. And not one mention of Randy Orton stomping him in the groin. He's got all of this pent up. He's yelling. He's trying to get the crowd excited. And Jeff is very limited on the mic. We all know this, Even during his TNA days when they tried to add an element to his character. He's improved, but, he's still pretty weak on the mic. He lacks a lot of personality. He really has to try very hard. And, credit to him for doing that. At least he puts in some effort. But no mention of Randy Orton. This guy comes out at total random, stomps you in the groin. You have not one thing to say about that. I'm like, okay. I had to rewind the promo. I was like, did I miss something there? Did I miss the part where he talked about Orton after the match? Because you could go through this whole thing up until the end of the show where Orton finally attacks him and not know that happened if you didn't read the results online. Then you had AJ Styles defeating Cien Almas. And where did this come from? Almas is backstage. He's trapped in this, backstage prison for weeks and weeks. They bring him up to the main roster. He's doing some things that weren't even on TV. They were just WWE.com exclusives. They weren't giving this guy the time of day. They were giving him jobber matches. He finally got, a match against a regular current roster guy with Sin Cara. Sin Cara, beats his ass down for most of this match. And magically, he's qualified to have a match with AJ Styles with the champion. Now, I know that nowadays they don't believe in momentum, they don't believe in build-up, but this is completely ridiculous. If you could not even beat Sin Cara of all people, a guy that hasn't even been on TV in 2 years up to that point, are you really going to put him in the same ring with AJ and have us believe that he could actually beat him? And I thought maybe they were actually going to score a win. Maybe they were impressed with something with him from that match last week. Maybe they were going to pull the trigger at random. They did it with Jinder Mahal before. So I was like, all right, so we'll see where this goes. And Almas loses. And I guess what the mission statement here was supposed to be is that, well, Almas sure did have a good match with him. So, that's going to put him over with the crowd for sure. This day and age, they don't believe in character. They don't believe in cutting a good promo that's going to get over with the audience. They feel if they have a good match with another wrestler, that's going to be enough to get them over. And, that's going to elevate them to the next level. That's not the case here. This is a match. We see tons of these, these long 15, 20-minute matches that are supposed to be good, but they're really just dragged out with no selling and no story behind them. But, you ask management and they're going to tell you, oh, this was a quality match. This got Almas over because he showed his work rate. He showed what he could do. To me, I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, he lost the match. It wasn't even a title match. Now, that would have been exciting, right? If he came out and he challenged for the title, at least that would have been a little extra something. At least there would have been stakes. Here, there were no stakes. There was nothing on the line, nothing to really make it seem like Almas was going to, win here. So the purpose of this match, and once again, AJ Styles, he's basically opening the show after the Jeff Hardy promo. You have AJ Styles, a mid-card or a lower mid-card world champion. I thought CM Punk was relegated to being, the mid-card champion, or he was the second to last guy on the card when he was WWE champion. He wasn't good enough to quite be in the main events, and they wrote this into the storylines and such. But I can't help but feel here that, this is supposed to be the age of the smaller wrestlers. This is supposed to be the age where, we're supposed to respect, these New Japan wrestlers, and these are the guys who are supposed to be over. And AJ Styles is in the middle of the card. He's basically opening the show here, never to be heard from again for the rest of the show. I don't get it. I mean, they took the title off of Jinder Mahal. They had AJ be the champion to face the Royal Rumble winner. He never main events. I don't know what the thing is here, what they have against this guy. He's a boring champion, but that's their fault. That's not his fault. I mean, what exactly are they trying to do here? The World Championship is supposed to be what everyone is pursuing. That's why they get into WWE, to be champion. From a kayfabe perspective, and even from a real world perspective. I mean, you want to be the champion. It's every wrestler's dream. They want to, they want to come to WWE, be the champion, get paid the most money, have the top spot on the card. So I don't know why that's an issue here. AJ's over with the Smarks big time. The Smarks are ruling the WWE. They're booking the WWE around the Smarks. So why is this guy going on before the Intercontinental title match? That's beyond me. I'll never really quite understand why they have something against AJ. It's like they want to commit to him. They'll put him out there on the show. They want to make like this is the time when the Smarks are going to come out there and they're going to basically run the show, let them hijack the show and everything. And so you have like the perfect guy here. AJ Styles, he was in New Japan and everything. He was part of the Bullet Club. And they just keep screwing this guy over, and I can't help but feel bad for the guy. He's the world champion, but I mean, this has got to be the lowest form of being a champion yet, where they won't even let the guy get anywhere close to closing out a show. And it shows even on SmackDown. The U.S. title goes on last. So I understand the title was on the line, but he's still the champion. Aiden English apologizes to Lana for, his mistake during the, the world title match at Extreme Rules. Lana here, I don't know what the deal is here. They're like trying to phase her out of having the accent, but like when she reappeared, she didn't have the accent like a few months ago. Then she, and also I don't get this. She sometimes comes out there with Rusev, but she wasn't out there for the biggest moment in his career where he got his first ever world title match, so I guess his wife doesn't want to be there for him, even though she doesn't even have a match on the card herself, so she's got nothing planned for that night. So why not have Lana come out there and at least be arm candy for Rusev, at least be eye candy for the crowd or the home audience? For the people watching on the network, none of these thoughts, I get it, cross anyone's mind in management or the creative team, so it's a moot point. But Lana, just, there's no accent here. Then there starts to be a bit of an accent. Then it goes back to the Valley Girl voice, and I'm just like, what? So which one is it? Does she have the accent? Does she not have it? It's like a joke of some sort that's not really that funny. It just shows inconsistency in the character. I mean, you want her to have the accent or you don't. I mean, pick one. which one is it going to be? You know, she starts off with a full-fledged accent. It's part of the gimmick. Okay, so maybe they want to take it away. It's been done before. We saw it with Kofi Kingston in the past, and they made fun of it. But, you know, now it's a bit ridiculous. It's on there, and they want to make her more talkative, and she's going in and out of this accent. And it's ridiculous at this point. Becky Lynch defeated Mandy Rose, so, you know, they go on and on about Mandy Rose, and they're obsessed with Mandy Rose, and McMahon's in love with Mandy Rose. He's telling Corey Graves to be in love with Mandy Rose and put her over, how beautiful she is on the mic and how great she is. And so, but they don't have any interest in, you know, putting her over, you know, actually like in the match. So they give it to Becky Lynch, and Becky Lynch is like, it's about time I become champion again. I've been racking up wins, but, you know, this is what it's all about, racking up wins and everything. I thought wins and, you know, and losses didn't matter. Isn't that what Road Dogg said on Twitter? But I guess they matter again, right? I guess it's all about who wins the most matches. It's who gets, you know, the championship. So, you know, so they had Charlotte losing, you know, constantly. She managed to win the belt. They had Carmella constantly losing. She won the belt. So, you know, I mean, I guess winning is not the way to go, apparently. But Becky cuts this promo, and she says, you know, like, who's with me and everything, and the crowd response was pathetic. Now, Becky Lynch, I'm a fan of this girl. I think that she's a good talent. She looks good and everything, but you know, besides the fire thing that she does, there's nothing to this character at all. There's, you know, nothing besides the brightly colored hair. You know, Becky Lynch does these rallying promos and everything, and the crowd was not there. That sounded absolutely horrible. You're trying to, like, get a title shot based on the merit of, you know, what the crowd wants, and the crowd was not behind it. I don't care about what any of these smarks say. No one really gives a shit about the women's division. It's still the same story as the Divas division. It doesn't matter how many of these guys try to white knight and try to, you know, play nice and say, oh, I'm not here to look at the girls, you know, I'm just here to appreciate their athleticism. We all know it's BS at the end of the day. So what we've got here is, you know, basically the same situation as even a decade ago. You know, just with a toned down mentality when it comes to the sexualization of the product. You know, we're just not going to get bra and panties matches. So it's, you know, it's basically the same thing. People are just pretending to care. But all they do is just troll the matches and try to get themselves over. No one really cares about the women's division. It's just one of these things that the smarks have to do to fit in with the rest of the morons. Samoa Joe had a match with Ty Dillinger. You might be asking yourself, well, this is just a random match on here. They just threw this together, right? Where did this come from? Where was Joe? Well, Joe's actually been back. He returned last week. Oh, really? Well, I haven't seen him at, you know, the pay-per-view. Okay, well, Samoa Joe actually reappeared, but on WWE.com during a, you know, one of these exclusive segments that nobody watches, except for the people who have nothing better to do. So he returns in this segment at total random, and of all the people he could beat up, you know, maybe the champion, maybe the U.S. champion, maybe go after somebody with some meaning, he beats up on Ty Dillinger, of all people, a guy who hasn't even won a single goddamn match since he was brought up onto the main roster from NXT. I honestly think, right, the guy hasn't won a single match at all. I don't think he has. But they brought him out. You know, he's still a perfect 10. This is all he's got going for him. Samoa Joe beats him in 2 minutes, and what's the point? There isn't even any promo, not challenging for the title. So, you know, what's really funny about Samoa Joe, they put this guy up against Brock Lesnar. We were told that this guy was a threat to Lesnar. He's going to put Lesnar to sleep. You know, he's the Samoan submission machine. He's, you know, this wrecking ball. He's a machine. You know, he's out of control. And The guy has a hard time now even getting on SmackDown for 2 minutes. That's the current product we're living in. And then creative's going to turn around and say they got nothing for him. Basically what it is. So, you go from being world champion to having nothing. It's the same thing with Cesaro and Sheamus. These guys are just on the sidelines. They're a great tag team. They've already shown what they could do on the mic. Cesaro's even taken, strives to make sure that, he's improved on the mic and he's improved his presentation and everything. And still, there's no... I mean, they can't even find anything for Elias and Bobby Roode. Two amazingly charismatic. Elias even more so. Elias should basically write himself at this point. And they're having trouble even finding a spot on a 3-hour show. A show that even Apollo Crews can find himself on. Even a no personality having guy like Finn Balor, there's even time for him on the show. You've got all this time and you can't find any time for the guys that actually are clearly talented enough to get themselves over. And they're already over, but for some reason they can't figure out how to maintain that level of popularity. So, this is another example. So the Smarks are behind Joe. I really think what they need to do with Samoa Joe is reinvent this guy. He's been wearing the same tights for 15 years on the indie scene. Been wearing them for 10 years in TNA, basically. The same monotone voice, the same boring, no facial expression having face of his. I mean, it's a no-brainer. It's time for a change. It doesn't matter what the Smarks say. This guy's really got not a lot going for him, but, he's got that lineage. He's got popularity, he's got notoriety already amongst some of the fans, and they can't even think to put the guy on the show. And when they do finally think about it, they're like, put him against Ty Dillinger. No stakes match, no story behind. Oh, I'm sorry, there was a story, but it was on WWE.com. This is a pretty sad state of affairs. Oh, so finally, The Miz cuts a promo on Daniel Bryan. It's a funeral for Team Hell No. Daniel Bryan comes out to attack him. He attacks the pallbearers that were at ringside. So it seems like finally we're going to get that Miz-Bryan match. 3 months after we should have initially gotten it. After the big cast matches. 2 of those. 3 of those. 5,000 of those. We've got the Bludgeon Brothers, the Team Hell No, and they're already done with that. Already done with the team. So they did the whole Team Hell No tag team just so Kane could be in the ring for 2 minutes at the pay-per-view. They're already giving up on it. Kane's going back to the campaign trail. So what was the point of all that? What was the point of Extreme Rules? Why did this pay-per-view even need to exist? I mean, what's going on here in this company? I mean, honestly, there's no explanation to be had at all why we had a Team Hell No. Anyway, but that initial heat that they had, where The Miz was drafted to SmackDown, and now he's trapped there with Daniel Bryan, and now he's going to have to face him now that he's cleared to be in the ring. We had this big opportunity here to have this massive feud with so much build behind it from, what they had built up previously when they were both on SmackDown together. They had so much momentum behind that. There's no excuse why it shouldn't have been Bryan's first feud back when he was cleared. I understand we need to get through the Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens stuff. That was done. Now they're both on the same show. And then they put Big Cass in there. That's how they wanted Big Cass to make his return, just so they could have him job out to Bryan 2 times in a row. So, productive, right? Very productive. So we wasted all that time on what could have been one of the most over-exciting and well-played on the mic feuds that we've had in a very long time. But, they pushed it off until, without a doubt, it's nice to see, but it's like, well, I kind of wanted this a few months ago. Kind of reminds me of the Wyatts and the Shield, where they had this thing brewing for a few months and they kept putting it off, teasing it a little bit, putting it off, and then they had the match to the point where no one cares, and after a month or a week that it happened, after that, no one even cared about it anymore. A week after it happened, everyone just completely forgot that was even the case, that it even had occurred. Eric Young defeated Kofi Kingston. I mean, I don't know what's going. They're just having this match. This guy's wrestling this guy. We're having, okay, we need to have some promos. So they never have New Day shut up. They're always on the mic. Do we have maybe Eric Young, who's very talented on the mic, maybe, get up there and have some words with these talkers? I mean, no, this is the one time where all of a sudden they've lost their tongues. They're mute at this point. No storytelling allowed. So you've got these characters that you've been building up. They're goofy, whatever, they're obsessed with pancakes and everything. So that they all do. That's all verbal and everything. That we all see. It's all king. So now you've got this team that's all business. And this is the perfect time for them to just, basically force New Day to break up. That's the end of the positivity. They're here. They're the negative team. They're the crazy team. They're going to beat the crap out of them. And, this is going to force, Big E to take a look at himself and be like, what have I been doing with my career all these years? Something to finally break them up after this monotonous cycle of constant stuff with the New Day, enough with the unicorns, with the pancakes, and all this other bullshit that they put out there. This would be the perfect opportunity, and Eric Young and the team could finally rain on their parade. But instead, we're going to settle for these boring sets of matches that are not getting anybody over. Eric Young barely wins the match, hits his finisher, and not a word, not a peep from either team. Besides Big E yelping at ringside, we got nothing storyline-wise. And then they wrap things up with Jeff Hardy defeating Nakamura by disqualification. Orton pulls him out of the ring, starts beating on him. So there you go. So now Orton's out there. Now all of a sudden it's about Orton. So also, I gotta mention, I said in my Extreme Rules review that I was going to withhold my judgment on the Jeff Hardy-Nakamura match until I found out, were they doing this for the purpose of Jeff Hardy maybe being so seriously injured that maybe he couldn't make it through a match? So I was like, alright, you heard me during that review. I was like, well, maybe they're just taking the title off of him. Maybe even this SmackDown match that they're booking, they're just going to kind of want to write off the rematch clause. But that's not the case. They go on and they have a 15, 18-minute match. So Jeff Hardy he's fine enough to have a match. Maybe not fine enough to hit a swanton, but he's fine enough to have a match. So, therefore, Jeff Hardy losing within 10 seconds or whatever the fuck it was the most pathetic thing I've ever seen, and it's another reason why that pay-per-view was absolute fucking garbage. I mean, so there's my opinion there on bridging the gap between the Extreme Rules and the SmackDown review right here. So there's my opinion. Pencil it into the Extreme Rules. That's my official thoughts on the match. How can they take a guy as over as Jeff? You hear the crowd reaction when he came out there for the start of the show. But obviously they don't even care about anything. There's probably no reason why they did what they did. They just wanted to get the title off of Jeff. Shoehorn him right away into this storyline with Randy Orton for whatever reason. I can't wait to find out why this happened, because I know we're not going to get a good explanation. Just like we always do. Randy Orton is shouting at Jeff during the beatdown. Oh, you want to know why, huh? You want to know why? Yeah, I kind of do, But watch. Next week, Orton will probably start off the show cutting a promo. We'll once again be scratching our heads. Why is it so hard for them to figure out why somebody wants to fight another person? Are they really that strapped for ideas where they need to really... Because I know that's not why they're doing it. They are buying time. They didn't know what Jeff Hardy needed to say during that opening segment. They didn't know. So, and the thing is, wouldn't Jeff Hardy, be looking backstage for Orton to start off the show, not cutting this hoorah style promo? I know you want to get your title back, but don't you also want to get revenge on the guy who stomped you in the groin too? I don't get it. I mean, honestly, I don't understand anything on this show. It's a complete mess. I mean, it's a runaway train. Week after week, it's the same story. Let's not make any sense. Let's just do whatever. Let's just, just go with the flow. Let's just write the show in 5 minutes. This guy's going to do that. The other guy's going to do this. Are we going to protect the champion? Or, are we going to actually maybe feature the champion in something that seems like he actually matters? No. Second segment on the show for AJ. Get him out of the way. Let him have a 15-minute match. Like, what? He's the world champion. Can you imagine if they did that with Hulk Hogan or Stone Cold or The Rock or even Batista or Randy Orton during the Ruthless Aggression era? That would have never even been a glimmer of a thought amongst anybody, even during those times when they didn't even have the best that creative had to offer. They still knew well enough that the world champion is the world champion, and we gotta make that guy seem like he's the most important part on the show. But with AJ, no. And maybe you have an explanation why Randy Orton did what he did at the pay-per-view. That's leaving everybody scratching their heads. No, we're just gonna have him do another beatdown. And, he's going to scream about, Jeff Hardy wanting to know why, but we're probably not going to know the reason that doesn't make it, the nonsensical reason that doesn't make any sense, probably not until next week. So, there you go. There's not really a lot else to say about this show. It was poor. It was a bad follow-up to Extreme Rules. There's, nothing on the horizon. Like, okay, I'm looking at the Raw side of things. We all know it's going to be Bobby Lashley and Lesnar. Probably with Lashley taking the title, which is probably the best move that they could possibly do. And a decision that I will applaud. Now, they're going to go out there on SmackDown, on the SmackDown side of things. And I don't know what they're planning on doing with AJ. I don't know who possibly they could get to face him. Obviously, the SmackDown side of things is going to be the most over thing possible, is going to be Bryan versus Miz. But, when you have something like SummerSlam coming up, and you don't even know who AJ's opponent is scheduled to be, you've got massive problems there. You don't even know who your world champion is going to face at the second most important event of the year. Anyway, guys, what more else do you want me to say? That it was horrible, that it was terrible, that it was no good, that it was abysmal, that it was abominable? All the adjectives apply. Look them up in the thesaurus for bad, and they're all categorized right here to describe this episode of SmackDown. Anyway, guys, this has been your YWC champ, and I'm signing out.